Welcome to a little segment I like to call Bumps and Bends. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Bumps and Bends. Here we are at Silverstone Circuit, the Formula Sprint fixed setup. This is the national layout, and it's a very short lap. What I've noticed, the most important thing here is tire temperatures. Your car will not perform unless your left tires are right up. As I finished, I just did a 13 lap practice, which is a 13 lap race. I managed to get my times down right towards the end of the race. I'm down to a 51.4 with a optimal of a 51.2. It's pretty much on par with the leaders. Watched a race before I jumped onto the track and watched what the leaders were doing. In a slipstream, you'll get down to a 51 flat, even a 50 if you're good enough. But effectively, this is a really short circuit with 3 drag strips. It's all about getting the tires up to temperature and getting balance through the corners will maximize your exit speed because of the long straights relative to the car speed. Your exit speed is crucial. So let's have a look at my fastest lap was a 51.4. Let's get stuck into it. So on turn 1, you really want to throw it in, aim, put the nose right over the ripple strip. That was not an X. You can use a lot of the exit ripple strip, but not too much. Try not to be too greedy on the brakes here. It's about pulling the car up as smooth as possible. The smoother you are on braking, the smoother you are getting out of the corner, keeping the car as stable as possible. Coming up to the end of this drag strip, I'm braking just before the sign. After the, let's go back a bit, this track happens so fast. So there's a 50 sign and then a sign just after that. I'm sort of trying to turn it in, throw it in, and worry about braking later, and combining braking and downshifts to balance the car as close to the apex, trying to abuse the apex as much as possible. Let's get back into it. Really want to try and get right in there, get on the throttle early. Try not to be too greedy here. You're in massive understeer into oversteer. You're sliding the car. That's not an exit. You use a lot of exit there. And then if you want a good time, really stay on the inside, and that'll give you about a 1/10 of a second. And that is a 51.4. Let's have a look at that from an outsider's point of view. Right, so at the start of the lap, I'm starting on the inside. I'm just maximizing my time, basically. You can ride right over this, but there's a little bump at the exit, like the fence sticks out just a little bit there. Try not to hit that, because then you'll lose this side of the car. You'll go to this side of the track, and you might even take a few people out. And then after the finish line, I'll just move towards the exit. Now, I'm really trying to go as wide as possible without touching the dirt, but I'm focusing on throwing the car in. I'm turning it in quite early because the car is naturally understeery, and I'm trying to actually get my nose over the line. If you abuse it too much, these flat looking sausage curbs are in fact not flat, and they will unsettle the car. I've used it a little bit, and you'll see the way the car reacts. You want to get this corner as smooth as possible. It's really important that you don't jump off the throttle too much and throw the balance too far towards the front of the car. I'm actually trying not to go off full throttle. That's my goal. Get my line right. Try not to go off full throttle. and look for that earliest point that I can get straight back on it. So there's actually no braking there. Half throttle, find that point, see it just bumps a little bit, and that's prevented me from getting on the throttle too early. So that's still understeer, understeer, and I've actually not got an X there. So traditionally this would be the line, but in this track, that's the line. It's very easy to just touch that line. You will get an X then. But remember, a 13 lap race, and you get 17x for the race. So you can actually do this each lap, and you will get about 2/10 by going out wide and cutting back in. I don't recommend it. I prefer myself getting a 0x race, but it is what it is. Formula Sprint is about finding the tricks of the trade and abusing them as much as possible. So once you're through here, it's about just getting your gear shifts right. You'll find in the cockpit view, as soon as that last LED lights up, bang it in another gear, any more, and you'll be touching the limiter, and you'll just lose the tiniest bit of momentum. Now, what I said earlier about being too greedy, if you're too greedy into this section, you'll run a little bit wide, and it's all about manipulating the gradient of the track. Even though it's subtle, you've just got to find that right spot. So halfway along this sausage curb, I'm already touching the brake before I'm off the throttle, and just getting it down from 6th gear to 3rd gear and trying to tuck it in. And it's not so much about line. This corner is about momentum and car stability. So get the car in and see you're going from the old circuit in the middle into the new circuit. So there are a few bumps. Now, a lot of people go out wide here and progressively come back, but I find this is just something that I learnt from Project Cars. I'm trying at this point to cut towards here as early as possible. My theory is less track distance across this straight. Any little 1%ers I can find, I'll grab it with two hands. So try not to hit the limiter here. Now this one is about bravery. Like I said on the hot lap earlier, there's the 50 sign where I'm turning in just before the 50 sign, but I'm trying to brake as late as possible, and I'm using this sign as a reference. You see here I'm already on the brakes, so I'm looking at that sign, but in fact I'm actually braking earlier and throwing it in. You just try not to wipe off too much speed. Down to 3rd gear. Now ideally you can cut right across this section. I could probably use a lot more. Those sausage curves back there are quite flat, and you can really cut the corner. This corner is something that I've personally struggled with for a long time. I traditionally tried to stay on the inside, but progressively, just try and move the car a little bit outwards to the left before you cut the corner, and it really helps with your apex speed. If you stay too tight, you're actually going a lot slower at the apex, and you lose it for the following straight. So I'm using this sausage curb as a reference to try and get back on the throttle. So I'm actually feeling the rear end. As soon as that rear end, I can feel it spinning, spinning, spinning. The transition from understeer to oversteer, and you see I'm on it, and then I find that point as early as possible to just punch it out, and then you can use a lot of this curb. So you can really open the steering, maximize your exit speed, and then just head towards the finish line. If you're in a qualifying lap, a little trick is to go out on this corner as wide as possible and go into second and start your corner from here. At the finish line, you'll have a few kilometers extra over the finish line, but personally during a race, I'll just stick to what I know. Not that talented. So yeah, once again, staying really tight on the inside. You can go right over here. It will not give you an X, but you'll find just riding the nose over the curbs and just cutting it in a little bit without being too aggressive means you're not turning in tight at the end of this little section. So I'm trying to go in a little bit, but see the way that fence sticks out means you have to steer a little bit extra, which is going to wipe off speed. Stay right on the inside, finish lines here, and you're good to go. So finally, let's have a look at a rolling start. Now the guys are going to play games at the start. They always do. Really focus on the left side of the car tyre temps. I seriously don't recommend this because it's against iRacing rules. But I reckon the more burnouts you do on the warm-up lap, the better you're going to be on lap 2 and 3. I'm a lot better from lap 5 onwards. So the more you abuse the brakes and the tires and get the heat cycle and the pressures up, the quicker you'll be earlier in the race. So coming along here, still got the safety car here. We've still got the safety car. And the guys are going to start playing games. They're going to really back it off. They're going to back it right off. So at this point here is where the safety car will go in. But you're going to find the leaders, they're going to back it right off at this point. At the point that the safety car goes over that line, the leader has control of the race. Very unfortunate with the people that are getting pole position. Personally, I would just jump on the throttle. But after doing a few ILMS races, I find that the leaders really, really back it off traditionally. They give that safety car a lot of time. But my preference is to ride the safety car right on him. And as soon as he pulls in, jump on the throttle. But you're going to find the guys playing games with P2. And as soon as P2 backs off to prevent himself getting a penalty, that's when the leader he'll actually have a side view on watching that guy. As soon as he backs off the tiniest bit, he'll punch it and he'll actually get 1/2 to 3/4 of a second of a gap at the start of the race. So right at this point is where the safety car goes in, and there's quite a long stretch. This part here, the anticipation is going to be high and the field's going to be compressed and stretch out and compressed, and this is when the green light will come on. So good luck, guys, this week. I think compared to the eye-juddering Detroit that we had last week, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Thanks for watching. Give us a thumbs up if you liked it. Down if you didn't. Make sure you subscribe. Let me know in the comments down below if I got anything wrong or if you found any little tricks of the trade for this track, and I look forward to hearing from it. See you next time, guys. Bye.